Half an hour passed quickly, and the brightness in Song Chi's eyes gradually dimmed, his complexion turning pale. Could it really be such bad luck, to be thrown into a starry sea hollow zone on my first exploration of the star domain? The vast shattering of the multiverse that occurred a billion years ago indeed left countless cosmic fragments, but the shattered starry sea was so vast, immeasurably so in light years, that the cosmic fragments scattered throughout the starry sea couldn't completely cover it, hence the so-called starry sea hollow zones were created. Generally speaking, the various starry sea civilizations describe those star domains which span over 10,000 light-years in diameter and lack internal structures like floating lands, asteroid belts, small fragment belts, or possess only a minimal number of such structures, as starry sea hollow zones. Such regions are usually places all starry sea civilizations are reluctant to step foot into, for a lack of celestial structures also means the extreme scarcity of various resources. If Song Kai were indeed placed in such a star domain, then he could only consider himself unlucky. However, the reality wasn't so grim. After cruising at light speed for over an hour, Kang Chong finally detected a sizable fragment belt on the spatial radar. Seeing this, Song Kai quickly redirected the shuttle's course, heading straight for the fragment belt. Even though among the various resource points, the value of a small fragment belt was the least significant, not only compared to floating lands but also far less than asteroid belts, Song Kai was quite excited. According to the official authoritative data from Torch human civilization, even though the mortality rate for Torch warships during their first exploration of an alien star domain is only 5%, beyond this tiny mortality rate, more than 70% of the Torch warships that return from their missions do so without any gains. Thus, Song Kai was very clear about how precious this fragment belt he discovered was. Even though he knew full well that where fragment belts appeared, a starry sea floating land would definitely exist somewhere not too far away, Song Kai had no intention of searching for this unknown floating land. His goal was very clear, aimed directly at this fragment belt. As a Torch warship that had just recently merged, even with the support of his parents and a round of enhancement upgrades beforehand, within the vast starry sea that started at light years, this was but a drop in the bucket. One must understand that when textbooks say, near a small fragment, there must be a starry sea floating land, the term, not too far away, is actually relative. In reality, the distance is generally beyond what a spectral shuttle could reach within 24 hours. Attempting to investigate that unknown floating land would likely result in running out of the 24-hour exploration time before even obtaining the precise coordinates. Even if he were lucky enough to reach the unknown floating land, the delay would not leave him much time to scavenge for resources, so it is better to stay and explore the current fragment belt. Even though the resources in the fragment belt indeed couldn't compare in rarity to those found on planet belts and floating lands, right now this was something Song Kai could truly lay his hands on. Moreover, one mustn't forget that in the ruins market there was also the Furious Tiger mining cart. If the unit price wasn't comparable, then he would make up for it in quantity. Soon, Kang Chong successfully reached the periphery of the fragment belt and confirmed it was indeed the small fragment belt as introduced in the textbooks. Song Kai suppressed his eagerness. First, he took out the basic duchy civilian exoskeleton, stored in the shuttle's warehouse, and put it on. Then, he activated the sole special component on Kang Chong, the Fire Peony Soldier effigy tree. After consuming a full 1,000 spectral energy points from the spectral energy pool, 10 Fire Peony Soldier figurines, each over 2 meters tall and exuding a fiery red hue, were summoned. Looking at the 10 soldier figurines standing neatly before him, their presence burning intensely like fire, a hint of satisfaction appeared in Song Chi's eyes. These 10 first-rank Fire Peony Soldier figurines would provide the support he needed for the upcoming exploration of the small fragment belt. Although they were only at the beginning of the first rank, even when encountering up to 5 first-rank alien species, they were more than enough to ensure Kang Chong's safety. Name: Fire Peony Soldier figurine. Quality: white. Rank: first rank, upper limit second rank, level LV10. Active ability. None. Passive ability. Fiery intensity. As a fire attribute soldier figurine, attacks carry extra burn damage. Explanation. A product of some lost civilization, of quite ordinary quality. Ordering the 10 fire peony soldier figurines to guard evenly around himself, Song Chi's glabella flashed with ghost light, and in the next second, the Kongchong below his feet suddenly disappeared, taken into the ancestral torch aperture at his brow. The next second, Song Kai and the 10 fire peony soldier figurines were all exposed in the external starry space, and a wave of discomfort instantly swept over his body, instinctively holding his breath. As a member of the Starry Sea human race with only LV4 in guidance technique and still at 0 rank life level, Song Kai couldn't adapt to the special environment of star space. Only life forms above first rank could stay in interstellar space for extended periods. Luckily, there was no gravity in starry space, and preliminary detection had shown that there were no special spores or floating viruses present, so the 11 figures were quietly suspended there. Ordering the fire peony soldier figurines to wait in place, Song Chi's figure quickly vanished, and 2 minutes later, when he reappeared, he once again summoned the Kang Chong. However, by this time, several large objects had appeared in the cabin of the Kang Chong. In the cabin, after fitting the mining cart specialized prospecting instrument onto the Furious Tiger Type 1 floating land mining cart, alongside 2 fire peony soldier figurines, Song Kai controlled the Kang Chong, slowly entering the small fragment belt ahead. This fragment belt stretched for tens of thousands of kilometers, filled with large and small stellar fragments, where a slight mishap could cause collisions, making lightspeed cruise like before impossible. Fortunately, it wasn't necessary to scout fragment by fragment. The onboard artificial intelligence of the previously loaded Furious Tiger mining cart would automatically conduct detection. If there were special mineral resources within 10 kilometers of the Kang Chong, the vehicle's AI would promptly issue a reminder. Advancing slowly, the vehicle's AI occasionally sent alerts, but Song Kai had yet to instruct the Kang Chong to stop. Radiation response for black copper, detected on the fragment at the left-hand coordinates 4x, preliminarily estimated at around 100 kilograms. Radiation response for fine iron, detected on the medium fragment ahead at coordinates 4x, preliminarily estimated at around 50 kilograms. Radiation response for gold, detected on the left-hand coordinates, preliminarily estimated at around 200 kilograms. Though the vehicle's AI issued numerous prompts, they were mostly for common resources, which were pitifully scarce. Not to mention ton-level reserves, there wasn't even 300 kilograms or more, so they were simply not worth mining. One should note that each stop for the Spectral Shuttle, deploying the Furious Tiger mining cart to start mining, would take at least half an hour, even more than an hour would not be surprising. Thus, spending such a long time to mine a couple of 100 kilograms of ordinary mineral resources, worth less than a wisp of 0-rank floating land origin, was incredibly uneconomical. As for towing the fragments containing the ore directly back to the shuttle, sorry, that was a function reserved for spectral warships and above, the exclusive purview of torch warships. Spectral shuttle, spectral airship, spectral warship. About half an hour later, the intelligence system on the Furious Tiger mining cart issued another alert. Radiation reaction of mithril ore, detected on the fragment at the left coordinates XXXXX, with a preliminary estimate of over 10 tons. Song Chi's first instinct was to ignore it, but he then realized what he heard. Mithril? As much as 10 tons? If he remembered correctly, mithril was a resource even more valuable than electrum. The average price of electrum was around 1 point of 0-rank floating land origin per ton, whereas the price of mithril was as high as 5 points of 0-rank floating land origin per ton. If it really was over 10 tons of mithril, it was definitely worth mining. Don't think that 50 points of 0-rank floating land origin is little. The reason why Song Kai could have 1,000 points of 0-rank floating land origin as startup capital was that he had 2 parents who were also torch ship captains. A typical Torch warship returning from an exploration of the alien star domain would usually gain about 100 points of zero-rank floating land origin. The 50 points he could get from this find would already be half of that amount. Without much hesitation, he maneuvered the Kang Chong towards the left, carefully moving towards the coordinates where the small fragment suspected of containing mithril was located. Song Kai was in no rush. As he moved forward, he constantly checked the radar. After reaching level 4 in the guidance technique, the enhancements he gained were not limited to his physique. His spiritual strength was significantly bolstered as well. Simple multitasking was just basic for him. It was said that at higher levels of the guidance technique, managing 10 things at once, or even more, was not out of the question. Although the standard patrol radar lacked the ability to detect life signals, it could still pick up on high-rank stellar sea creatures moving at full speed or the approach of special warships from alien civilizations within the Starry Sea. However, the chances of encountering a high-rank stellar sea creature or an advanced alien civilization during the first welfare deployment phase were very, very slim. With no other incidents occurring, the Kang Chong soon arrived at the target fragment. This was a small fragment, tens of meters long and far larger in volume than the Kang Chong itself. Song Kai didn't rush to deploy the mining cart. Instead, he had the Kang Chong circle around the area to rule out any dangers. Only after ensuring safety did he stop the shuttle on the surface of the target fragment. After that, it was out of his hands. The intelligence system on board the Furious Tiger Type 1 floating land mining cart automatically took control, leaving the Kang Chong's bay to the position of strongest radiation and commenced mining operations on its own. Inside the Kang Chong, Song Kai quietly waited. He appeared expressionless on the surface, but deep down, he was extremely satisfied. The Furious Tiger mining cart may have been expensive, but its efficiency in operation was quite impressive. If other newly awakened torch ship captains had to mine manually, extracting these 10 tons of mithril would take at least 5 hours. However, with the efficiency of the Furious Tiger mining cart, it would take at most 40 minutes to finish the job. As Song Kai predicted, 35 minutes later, the Furious Tiger Type 1 floating land mining cart returned to the Kang Chong's bay, carrying 10 tons of mithril, not even a full 40 minutes later. Song Kai quickly visited the ruins market, dumped the 10 tons of mithril in the vacant area, and continued his exploration. 2 hours later, the Kang Chong was still slowly navigating through the fragment belt. Since the 10 tons of mithril, no other find had prompted him to take action a second time. Either the value was too low or the quantity too small. However, the recent detection of over 8 tons of electrum raw ore by the prospector did pique his interest. Although refining the raw ore would result in some loss, he could still sell it for about 5 or 6 points of zero-rank floating land origin. It wasn't much, but even a mosquito's leg is meat. It was better than aimlessly meandering around. Amidst his dilemma, the intelligent system of the mining cart once again chimed in with a reminder. A moderate, copperite, radiation zone has been detected, with a conservative estimate of the copperite reserves exceeding 500 tons. The fragment coordinates are XXXXX. Song Chi's eyebrows rose, and he quickly pulled himself out of his quandary. At the same time, detailed information about copperite surfaced in his mind. Copperite is a low-rank metal resource, typically priced around 1 tassel of zero-rank floating land origin for 5 tons, not very valuable. However, despite that, the quantity is considerable. Conservatively over 500 tons, if fully mined, could fetch over 100 tassels of zero-rank floating land origin. If other low-rank torch warships came across it, they would likely not bother with it, not to mention whether they carry a Furious Tiger mining cart at all times. Even if they could mine it all, figuring out how to transport it back would also be a problem. But Song Kai was different. With Zhu Tian Ruins Market and a Furious Tiger Type 1 floating land mining cart at his disposal, he was determined to acquire these hundreds of tons of copperite. No sooner said than done. Just like the first time, he circled the target fragment to ensure there was no danger before deploying the mining cart below to start the mining operations autonomously. The extraction of several hundred tons of copperite would not be difficult, but obviously, it could not be completed quickly. Not wanting to waste this time, Song Kai removed the mining cart's specialized prospecting instrument to use during the mining cart's operation. He planned to take advantage of this interval while the mining cart was working to prospect the surrounding area in advance. That way, as soon as the Furious Tiger mining cart finished mining this batch of copperite, they could immediately move on to the next task. Even though removing the prospector would somewhat affect the mining speed of the Furious Tiger mining cart, after weighing the options, operating them separately for a while was the more cost-effective strategy. Before leaving, not entirely at ease, Song Kai left 3 Fire Peony soldier figurines to guard the fragment to prevent the considerable commotion from the work of the Furious Tiger mining cart from attracting the attention of unknown creatures. Several hours later, hundreds of kilometers away from the fragment where the Furious Tiger mining cart was located, the Kang Chong slightly jolted as the prospector sent out another prompt. Without the active reminders from the vehicular intelligence, Song Kai had to leave the pilot seat to check manually. Mercury crystals, 10 kilograms. This stuff is even more valuable than mithril, but alas, the quantity is too small, not worth mining. Just then, the patrol radar on the console behind him suddenly started emitting a series of alarms. Song Kai, with quick reflexes, rushed back to the pilot console, his gaze sweeping back and forth between the radar and projection screens. He quickly identified the source of the radar alarms. On the radar display, out in the fragment belt thousands of kilometers away, hundreds of previously stationary fragments had almost simultaneously undergone a significant shift. This was clearly not normal, otherwise, the patrol radar would not have set off an alarm. Song Chi's eyes narrowed slightly, his expression solemn. Such commotion could not have been caused by zero-rank energy fluctuations. Thinking this, he instinctively shrank his neck, unwilling to get involved in the hustle. P.S. Didn't make it into this week's recommendations, so we'll have to wait until next week, hence just one release today. With control over the Zutian Ruins market, all he needed to do was to focus on stable development. Adventure was truly not something he considered. However, upon further thought, the scale of the energy fluctuations, although far beyond zero rank, did not reach the second rank level. Moreover, since this deployment was a welfare exploration, it was unlikely that threats too significant for the Kang Chong would appear in the vicinity. Contemplating this, he turned his head to glance at the 7 Fire Peony soldier figurines standing erect beside him. Assured that he had a reliable certainty of retreating with his whole body intact, Song Kai made his decision. He altered the course of his shuttle, heading straight towards the area where the disturbance had just occurred. An hour later, behind a large piece of debris, the Kang Chong had already extinguished its engines and was quietly docking on the debris. This piece of debris was over 20 meters in both length and width and perfectly concealed the body of the Kang Chong. On the other side of the debris was a vacuum area enveloped within the fragment belt, different from the Starry Sea Hollow zone. The diameter was very small, no more than 10,000 meters, and at the very center of the vacuum zone was a flat piece of debris nearly 1,000 meters in diameter. Song Kai guessed that the anomaly detected by the patrol radar likely originated from this piece of debris. Massive energy had burst forth from the debris, pushing all other pieces thousands of meters away, except for this one. However, the truth of the situation was no longer important now. What mattered was that Song Kai could determine that something extraordinary must be on that large floating land, because in just over 10 minutes of observation, he had seen no fewer than 3 waves of alien species with peculiar wings pouring into the debris. And crucially, these alien species started fighting each other after landing on the debris. Consequently, Song Kai speculated that whatever object or resource was on that large piece of debris had to be so rare that it drove these alien species into a frenzy. Otherwise, it would not have caused these clearly same species alien species to kill each other. As for Song Kai himself, it was impossible for him not to be curious, but he did not act rashly. At this moment, on that large piece of debris with a diameter of over 1,000 meters, There were hundreds of these winged alien species, including about a dozen of first rank. He was waiting for the analysis result from the semi-automatic shipboard intelligent brain aboard the Kang Chong. Every Torch ship captain who embarked on explorations into the alien star domain would surely download a copy of the basic data on all known Starry Sea civilizations, publicly released by the Torch human civilization. But the amount of information contained in this data was so enormous that even with the analytical speed of the shipboard intelligence, it took quite some time to verify. Of course, this was likely related to the fact that all Torch warships came equipped with only the lowest rank of semi-automatic intelligent brains. Nonetheless, there was no helping it, as the Torch civilization had specific regulations stating that all shipboard intelligent brains on Torch warships could only be semi-automatic. No one could blame Torchlight humanity for imposing such a restriction. There were too many examples of Starry Sea civilizations where subordinate intelligent brains became the masters, transforming civilizations into mechanical ones. Such a risk had to be guarded against. Several minutes later, the shipboard intelligent brain finally provided a comparison result. Species name: White-winged tribe. Introduction: an extremely common void creature in the shattered Starry Sea. They do not rely on floating land for survival and can move freely in the Starry Sea void. Species advantage: agile, with astonishing speed. Species weakness: very weak offensive capabilities. Under the same rank, it is very difficult for them to penetrate the energy shields of Torch warships. The White-winged tribe, staring at the virtual screen projected by the shipboard intelligent brain, and after a comparison, confirming that they were indeed this species known as the White-winged tribe, Song Kai thoughtfully mused. If the data given by the Torch civilization officials was correct, a bold idea had emerged in his mind. At this moment, there were still 110 strands of zero-rank floating land origin and nearly 200 zero-rank life cores in his ancestral Torch. To upgrade the spectral shield from level 7 to level 8, it required 15 strands of floating land origin plus 12 life cores. The upgrade from level 8 to level 9 needed 17 strands of floating land origin plus 13 life cores, and the upgradation to level 10 required 50 strands of floating land origin plus 40 life cores. By his calculations, to upgrade the spectral shield to first rank, a total of 82 strands of floating land origin and 65 life cores were needed. The emergency resources he had left were entirely sufficient for this. As for spectral energy points, a matter of a few minutes to replenish, they were not important. And as long as the spectral shield was enhanced to first rank, it would be impossible for the combined attacks of hundreds from the White-winged tribe to break the shield value provided by the spectral shield component for a short time. This was because the shield value provided by the components of a first-rank spectral shield would soar to 1,000 points. Furthermore, with the full protection of the Fire Peony soldier figurine also of first rank, there was a great possibility of success. After hesitating for a moment, Song Kai no longer wavered. The resources he had saved were intended for emergency use at critical moments, so why wait if not now? After several consecutive clicks, the level 7 spectral shield component was enhanced all the way to level 10, at the cost of significantly depleting the resource reserves on the Kongchong. There were only 28 strands of zero-rank floating land origin left and just over 100 life cores. Fortunately, the attributes of the level 10 spectral shield weren't too bad. Spectral shield level 10 quality: colorless consumption, 20 per second, spectral energy points. Defense: 99 shield value, 990/990th charge, 20s. Post-overload buffer, 40 minutes. Up-rank requirement: 100 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, 1600 spectral energy points, 50 zero-rank life cores. As a standardized component of colorless quality, after being enhanced to first rank, the subsequent enhancement of the spectral shield component still only requires zero-rank floating land origin and zero-rank life cores, which is much more convenient than the subsequent enhancements required for white race or higher strange object components. However, with the resources on the Kongchong nearly exhausted, further enhancement was no longer possible. After enhancing the spectral shield, Song Kai still made no move. He naturally didn't feel at ease just after the spectral shield component was enhanced. He first turned off the spectral shield and waited until the spectral energy points in the Yuning pool were fully replenished. Then, he controlled the Kongchong to start heading back the way he came. He wouldn't foolishly act hastily. Considering the situation, the fight between the White-Winged tribe members was unlikely to end in a short time. Given that, it was obviously better to first go back and collect the Furious Tiger mining cart, and along the way gather some of the valuable resources he had already marked. When the 24-hour exploration limit was about to end, he would look for an opportunity to take action. In that case, even if it was not feasible at that time, he could escape conveniently. Of course, if he came back later and the battle had already ended and the remains on the fragment had been taken, then it simply meant that the unknown object was not fated to be his, and Song Kai would not insist on acquiring it. More than 10 hours later, Song Kai returned precisely to the area of the small hollow. By now, only half an hour remained of the 24-hour limit since his initial deployment into the alien star domain. Looking ahead at the large fragment, there were still more than 200 of the remaining White-Winged tribe members. Likely, a few more groups had arrived after he had left. The only point that frustrated Song Kai was that, over 10 hours, not only had the number of first-rank members of the White-Winged tribe not decreased, but there were actually several more. Now, there were nearly 20 first-rank members of the White-Winged tribe on that fragment. Although there were quite a few first-rank White-Winged tribe members, Song Kai hesitated only for a moment before the next second saw the Kang Chong wrapped in a layer of spectral shield, suddenly burst out from the fragment belt and charged straight towards the large fragment in the void area ahead. The engines were running at overcapacity, and the Kang Chong, speeding at the speed of light, almost instantly reached the central region above the large fragment. The reason Song Kai chose this spot to land the Kang Chong was that nearly 20 first-rank White-Winged tribe members were tacitly surrounding this area, so it didn't take much thought to deduce that the high-level resource, or the Starry Sea oddity, was likely located around here. Ignored the momentarily confused and bewildered White-Winged tribe members, Song Chi's gaze swiftly scanned around on the shuttle's projection screen, while his ears waited for the prompt from the Furious Tiger mining cart's onboard intelligence. Warning: a severe radiation source detected, energy level is strong first rank, estimated results as follows. Third rank or higher life core, 32% probability. Starry Sea Civilization's residual nuclear fusion reaction core, 48% probability. Level 1 Floating Land Origin Core Initial Fusion Body, 95% probability. Quickly skimming the first two and dismissing any result below 50% probability as unreliable, which is common sense, his gaze just landed on the third item when Song Kai suddenly let out a soft cry, his heart filled with wild joy. He had never imagined that the object derived from the large fragment below would be this. A Level 1 Floating Land Origin Core Initial Fusion Body, also known as the initial form of Level 1 Floating Land Origin Core, is the initial form of a floating land origin core and also the source of continual production of the floating land origin, with every piece of Starry Sea floating land necessarily having a core of origin. That is to say, if not for him and the group of White-Winged tribe who happened to discover the anomaly, by the time this floating land origin core fully evolved into shape, the large fragment below would keep merging with the many surrounding fragments, and after 1,000 years, it would completely transform into a regular piece of Starry Sea floating land. However, there clearly wasn't any chance for that now, as even the lowest rank 1 floating land origin core had an unimaginable attraction for the vast majority of species in the Starry Sea. It could not only promote the evolutionary advancement of certain life forms, but it also belonged to a category of mid to high-level Starry Sea oddities and was the perfect material for creating high-level energy cores. For the Starry Sea mechanical race civilizations, this object could be sold for an astronomical price, as it was sufficient to allow an ordinary mechanical being to leap through several ranks and provide nearly endless energy. Of course, the floating land origin core below was only a lowest rank 1 origin core, at most allowing a mechanical life form to advance to third rank. However, even so, for someone like Song Kai, who was just beginning to awaken and still hovering at the stage of a zero-rank ordinary person, its value was already beyond imagination. Because he was acutely aware of the value of the origin core below, at that moment, there was only one thought left in Song Chi's mind. With such a minuscule chance event unfolding, since I've encountered it, I must give it my all. From the sudden appearance of the Kang Chong to when Song Kai got all the information sorted out, it seemed to take quite a while, but in reality, it was less than 10 seconds. By this time, the hundreds of White Wing tribe members below had also reacted, raising their weapons and collectively projecting their full power towards the Kang Chong. A moment before, they were slaughtering each other, but upon the entrance of the unidentified shuttle Kang Chong, they immediately unified their front, pointing their forces outward as one. Song Chi's reaction was also swift. Manipulating the control stick in his hand, two exquisite maneuvers dodged most of the projected weapons. Then, with a tilt of the shuttle's body, the Kang Chong targeted the crack over 10 meters in diameter right below and shot into it, disappearing before the eyes of all the White Wing tribe members. Inside the large fragment's crevice, the Kang Chong's descent was not slow. By continuously observing the surroundings, Song Kai concluded that the crevice was not formed long ago and could well have been the result of the recent intense energy outburst. The reason for the sudden energy burst most likely stemmed from the evolving Type 1 floating land origin core fusion body deep within the large fragment. The not yet fully formed floating land origin core, with its internal energy not 100% stable, made such accidental energy eruptions quite normal. Humming. The spectral shield on the surface of the Kang Chong fluctuated with ripples, a sign that the pursuing White Wing tribe was attacking. Even with Song Chi's superb skills, there was no way for Kang Chong, in such close quarters, to match the agility of the White Wing tribe, who had the advantage of their wings. 918 990ths 850, 990 and 766 990ths. The shield value of the spectral shield was dropping at a visibly fast rate, and Song Kai had lost his previous composure, his heartbeat accelerating rapidly. Minutes later, Song Kai spotted some good news, as the number of White Wing tribe pursuing them started to significantly decrease as the Kang Chong continued to descend, until at last, only 18 first-rank White Wing tribe members persisted. However, he soon understood the reason. Even without the attacks from the first-rank White Wing tribe behind them, the shield value of the spectral shield continued to drop at a steady rate. Song Kai, who had realized too late, now understood the situation. Obviously, the closer they got to the origin core fusion body near the bottom of the rift, the more intense the external pressure from increasing energy, which he hadn't felt at all due to the isolation provided by the spectral shield. 499 990ths. Seeing the shield value fall below 500 points, Song Kai gritted his teeth while simultaneously slamming down on the hand that gripped the control stick, and in the next instant, the Kang Chong abruptly accelerated and swooped down at a speed far exceeding its previous one. He was well aware that he needed to reach the position of the floating land origin core fusion body below as quickly as possible, otherwise, even if he found it later, he wouldn't have enough time to collect it. Without the protection of the first-rank spectral shield, facing an energy shock nearly at second rank with his current LV-4 guidance technique would be tantamount to suicide. I must reach the floating land origin core and bring it on board the Kang Chong before the spectral shield components overload. With this single thought in mind, Song Kai had no further concerns, whether it was collisions with the rift walls or the occasional attacks from the first-rank White Wing tribe behind him. To him, they were now out of consideration. As a result, the speed at which the Kang Chong descended increased nearly twofold, and correspondingly, the rate at which the spectral shield's value dropped was even faster. After tens of seconds, in Song Chi's anxious gaze, the Type 1 floating land origin core fusion body finally appeared at the edge of Kang Chong's field of vision. Instinctively, he pushed the thrust lever forward once more into the outside observer. The Kang Chong appeared like a streak of light, flashing just for an instant as it swept up to the vicinity of the origin core fusion body. The space above the floating land origin core, radiating terrifying thermal energy. The shuttle bay of the Kangchong warship slowly opened. In addition, a traction beam also shot out from within the shuttle, aiming straight at the fusion body of the origin core. The moment the traction beam acted on the fusion body of the origin core, Song Kai felt a significant repulsion, an innate resistance from the fusion body against this unfamiliar constraining force. This very repulsion made the traction progress of Kangchong exceedingly slow. Seeing this, Song Kai, who had been closely monitoring the spectral shield component, turned extremely unsightly. Just a second ago, the shield value of the spectral shield had already plunged below 200, leaving only a little over 100 points remaining, and it was still dropping rapidly at nearly 10 points per second. However, Song Kai had no solution to this. Essentially, Kangchong was just a zero-rank spectral shuttle, pulling an object equivalent to a peak first rank 1. It was a case of a cart being drawn by a tiny horse. Neither the spectral shield nor the fire peony soldier effigy tree had any direct connection to the traction beam. If he hadn't been certain it was only an incompletely formed floating land origin core, still lacking a complete instinct, coupled with the torch warship's feature that any starry sea oddity, no matter the level, could be transformed into harmless torch components once brought aboard, why would Song Kai rashly venture into danger? Another 10 seconds or so passed, and under the persistent effort of the traction beam, the fusion body of the floating land origin core was now not far from the Kangchong's shuttle bay, with success seemingly within reach. Swish, swish, swish. However, at this moment, several whooshing sounds abruptly came from behind, as more than a dozen heavily stepping members of the first-rank white-winged tribe were once again in pursuit. This time they were wiser. Knowing that their attacks could hardly damage Kangchong within a short time, they shifted their target, aiming to interrupt Kangchong's traction process. Song Chi's eyes flashed coldly. Having just seen hope in capturing the fusion body of the floating land origin core, how could he allow such a situation to occur? Block those attacks. Upon receiving Song Chi's command, 10 fiery red figures surged out from the Kangchong's shuttle bay simultaneously. With tungsten gold war shields in their left hands and tungsten gold lances in their right, they charged directly at the dozens of incoming attacks, executing Song Chi's orders to perfection. Clang, clang, clang. There was a constant succession of metallic clashes, as the 10 fire peony soldier figurines didn't let a single attack pierce their defensive line. Phew! Song Kai took a deep breath, his heart, which had been in his throat, settling back down before he again issued the free attack command. Instantly, the fire peony soldier figurines wielding combat shields and lances stepped forward in unison. The strands of fiery red light they emitted created a scene that was rather pleasing to the eye. But Song Kai understood this was just a facade. Relying on their puppet bodies, the pressure and high temperatures from the fusion body of the floating land origin core would not greatly affect them over a short duration. However, once they engaged in direct combat with the white-winged tribe, nearly double their number, the fire peony soldier figurines would quickly be at a disadvantage. After all, every one of the 10 fire peony soldier figurines was just at level 10, barely possessing the strength of early first rank, and the tungsten gold shields and spears they were equipped with had good hardness but quite ordinary attack power. Yet that didn't matter anymore. As long as the fire peony soldier figurines could hold out for more than 5 seconds, that would be enough. He had never counted on defeating or even killing any of the white-winged tribe. Time passed, and what used to be a brief second now felt exceptionally long to Song Kai. 56 990ths 47, 990 and 37 990ths . Just as the shield value of the spectral shield was about to drop to 0, the level 1 floating land origin core fusion body was finally completely drawn into the engine room of the Kangchong. Close shuttle bay doors. Turn the shuttle around. Spectral engine overload operation. There was no time to check the attributes of the floating land origin core fusion body, which had now transformed into an integrated ship component. Almost simultaneously with the successful traction, Song Chi's spirit operated at full speed. In a state of highly focused mind, he even faintly broke through his own limits and managed to achieve threefold mind utilization. Humming. Amid the roaring noise of the engine, Kang Chong turned into a residual image, charging straight towards the rift above. To speak nothing of checking the attributes of the componentized, floating land origin core fusion body, at this moment, Song Kai couldn't even spare a thought for the Fire Peony soldier figurines. His mind solely focused on escaping the rift space as quickly as possible. Without the strong energy fluctuations emitted by the floating land origin core fusion body, the several hundred members of the White-Winged tribe nearby were no longer restrained, and with the spectral shield nearing collapse, this was when the defenses of the Kang Chong were at their weakest. It wasn't just the first-rank White-Winged tribe to be wary of. Even several hits from the zero-rank members could potentially lead to the destruction of the ship and death. Luckily, the 10 Fire Peony soldier figurines were holding back most of the first-rank White-Winged tribe, or else Song Kai might even have considered fleeing into the Zhu Tian ruins market. Of course, he would only take that step as a last resort. While taking refuge in the ruins market would ensure safety, who could say whether it would also trigger the return function of the Torch warship? What if it didn't? Wouldn't that mean he would be stranded in this unknown star domain forever? According to the results of multiple tests over the past several hours, at present, entering and exiting the Zhu Tian ruins market was based on his own location. What did that mean, in simple terms? It meant that wherever he entered the Zhu Tian ruins market from, he could only exit at the same location. Because of this feature, if he missed the Torch warship's automatic return, he would only be able to shuttle between this star domain and the Zhu Tian ruins market in the future, making it nearly impossible to return to the realms where Torch human civilization resided. Just thinking about that possibility made Song Kai utterly reluctant. Even with the Zhu Tian ruins market available, where he could engage in market trades once a month to ensure subsequent resource acquisition, it wouldn't affect his continual enhancements and advancements. But the problem lay in the absence of the backing of a powerful civilization. No matter how strong an individual's combat power was, in the brutal shattered starry sea, it was still extremely dangerous, because one could never imagine the horrifying depth of heritage a middle to high-level civilization with over 100,000 years of legacy could possess. Kang Chong was racing through space, and although Song Kai had already pushed the speed to its limit, many attacks from the White-Winged tribe still landed on the hull of the shuttle. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the main cannon and secondary cannons on the Kang Chong continued to fire towards the rear, either directly attacking the pursuing White-Winged tribe or blasting the rock walls on both sides at the rear to obstruct the following alien horde with countless shattered rocks. However, there were too many members of the White-Winged tribe, and this was merely a drop in the bucket. Soon, the spectral shield, already on the verge of collapse, shattered completely, and attacks began to land on the hull of the Kang Chong. The only thing Song Kai could be grateful for was that when he was enhancing the ship yesterday, he upgraded not only the spectral shield component but also the warship armor to LV7. Although the defensive power of this level of warship armor was far inferior to a first-rank spectral shield, as long as it wasn't attacked by a first-rank White-Winged tribe member, it could hold out for a while. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Just a second ago, Song Kai was feeling relieved that no first-rank members of the White-Winged tribe had caught up, when suddenly, the rear section of the Kang Chong quivered violently. An attacker from the White-Winged tribe had caught up from behind, launching a precise strike that hit the warship's tail. Warning. Warship armor damaged by 34%, warship integrity compromised by 13%, please conduct repairs immediately. Song Chi's face paled with shock. Although the attack power of the White-Winged tribe was generally weak, the fact that the warship armor was damaged by less than 6% from the strikes of a dozen zero-rank members had proven this. But no matter how low the damage was, an attack that spanned a rank was utterly alarming. A single blow from a first-rank member of the White-Winged tribe had destroyed a quarter of the warship's armor, implying that if the Kang Chong sustained 2 or 3 more hits, the warship itself would suffer irreversible damage. Activate the basic nanobot repair pack. In haste, Song Kai issued a command to the semi-autonomous onboard intelligent brain and dared not be distracted, still fully controlling the Kongchong as it sped upward. His plan was simple. If he could just escape this rift, he would then be able to activate the lightspeed cruise capabilities of the warship without any reservations. Even if a first-rank member of the White-winged tribe was faster, they certainly could not match the speed of light. Warning: warship armor damaged by 36%, warship integrity compromised by 14%, please conduct repairs immediately. Basic nanobot repair pack activated. Warship armor repairing by 3%, warship integrity repairing by 4%, current damage level. Warning: warship armor damaged by 35%, warship integrity compromised by 12%, please conduct repairs immediately. Amid the continual sounds of damage and repair, no one knew how much time had passed when the Kongchong experienced another severe tremble, followed by even more frantic intelligent warnings. Severe warship damage, current warship armor damage level at 80%, warship integrity compromised by 62%. When warship integrity exceeds 80%, the shuttle will lose its ability to maneuver, please conduct repairs immediately. The second strike from the pursuing first-rank member of the White-winged tribe behind had instantly increased the extent of damage to the warship's integrity by more than half. Yet at that moment, a strong sense of joy suddenly burst in Song Chi's eyes. After continued effort, the Kongchong finally broke free from the rift and re-entered the space above the fragments. Without any hesitation, the engines began to overwork. Down below, the hundreds of White-winged tribe members in pursuit simultaneously let out a strange shriek, firing their attacks one after another, including the sole first-rank member of the tribe. One could imagine that if this barrage of attacks hit the body of the Kongchong, the warship's integrity would inevitably be over 80% compromised, but in the end, it was the Kongchong that was a step faster. Before the 100+ attacks could reach it, it had already turned into a lingering shadow that vanished above the fragments, reappearing at the edge of a distant void. Not until he plunged back into the fragment belt did the highly focused Song Kai finally let out a sigh of relief, feeling a strong sense of exhaustion wash over his brain. Below the rift, due to intense concentration, he had broken through the limit of doing two things at once. Because he hadn't dared to relax at all before, he hadn't noticed, but now that he relaxed, the after-effects immediately became evident. About this, Song Kai was not surprised and even felt a secret excitement deep inside. Generally speaking, torch ship captains at 0 rank, even when their guidance technique reaches LV9, can only achieve two things at once. Mastery of 3 simultaneous tasks is something that requires pushing beyond LV10 and undergoing a sublimation of life's order. The reason he, currently at LV4 in guidance technique, was able to briefly enter a state of threefold mind utilization was entirely built on the high-speed overdraw on his spiritual consciousness, which naturally led to a period of lethargy afterwards. Of course, it's not to say that all torch citizens with guidance technique below LV10 could enter this temporary limit-breaking state under intense concentration. On the contrary, 1 in 10,000 might be able to do so. To enter or even control this limit-breaking state often requires specific timing and certain innate gifts. Therefore, the number of people who could control this technique was few, and each could be considered gifted. This was the reason for Song Chi's elation. Although a single instance of accidental limit breaking didn't mean he had completely mastered this special technique, with this experience under his belt, he had the confidence that through long-term practice and attempts, he could eventually master this skill. He then maneuvered the Kongchong through the fragment belt for several minutes until he was sure that the White-winged tribe couldn't catch up in the short term, and Song Kai landed Kongchong on a small fragment. If he remembered correctly, the scheduled auto-return time for Kongchong was in a few minutes. Using this time, he turned to look at the only special component currently loaded on the shuttle, the Fire Peony Soldier figurine tree. As expected, 7 of the 10 light points on this white component had dimmed, indicating that 7 of the 10 Fire Peony Soldier figurines that had fallen to the rift's bottom had been lost so far, leaving only 3 struggling to hold on. However, There was an unexpected piece of good news. At some point, 2 strands of zero-rank floating land origin had appeared on the Kongchong, which meant that before their demise, the 7 Fire Peony soldier figurines had also taken down 2 members of the first-rank white-winged tribe. Indeed, aside from the constant emanation of floating land origin from the origin core, Torch warships can also obtain floating land origin by killing members of alien civilizations in the alien star domain. The Fire Peony soldier figurines were the product of the Fire Peony soldier effigy tree component of the Kongchong, so they could also trigger this feature. As for the question of why a single first-rank member of the white-winged tribe only provided 1 strand of zero-rank floating land origin, this was quite normal. After all, to obtain a single strand of zero-rank floating land origin, one would need to kill 10,000 zero-rank members of the alien race. While pondering, the last 3 light points also dimmed. It meant that all 10 Fire Peony soldier figurines had fallen. Despite this, Song Kai didn't feel sorrowful. The 10 Fire Peony soldier figurines weren't gone forever after being lost. They would be available for summoning again after a 24-hour buffer. After checking the status of the Fire Peony soldier figurine tree component, Song Chi's gaze swept the cabin. He was very curious about the warship component that had come from the first-rank floating land origin core that he had obtained with great difficulty. No sooner had he entered the cabin than Song Chi's eyes gleamed. The focal point wasn't the component itself, which was the size of a palm near the cabin door, but the dazzling purple light it emitted. It was clear that the Torch warship component, which resulted from the nuclear fusion engine LV-0. Quality: purple. Before he could finish examining, a slight sensation of weightlessness suddenly hit him, and as time progressed, this sensation of weightlessness was intensifying. Realizing something, Song Kai immediately withdrew his gaze and returned to the pilot seat with the utmost speed. Just as he fastened his seatbelt, the sensation of weightlessness reached its limit, followed by a dizzying whirl. In the suburbs of Zhongyuan City, at the ultra-long-range Starry Sea launch platform, the crowd was significantly smaller than the sea of people from yesterday, yet still close to 3,000 citizens had gathered. At this moment, the expressions on the faces of the more than 2,000 people present were mostly one of deep concern, revealing the anxiety parents and elders felt for their children. To awaken the seed of Torch and command a Torch warship is indeed a shortcut to heaven for everyone, granting an extraordinary social status. However, this shortcut is not a broad avenue, but one bristling with thorns. Each foray into the alien star domain, to put it nicely, is a mix of danger and opportunity. To phrase it unpleasantly, it is a life gamble repeated over and over. If you bet right, you live. If you bet wrong, death is the only outcome. All the parents present understood this, yet they had no choice but to proceed, because it is one of the few opportunities for common people to turn their fortunes around. If one of their descendants could make it just a little further on the path of Torch warship operation, the entire family could benefit from it, and even leap to become a newly emerging Torch family, easily carrying on the legacy for hundreds or even thousands of years. For the average citizens within the domain of Torch human civilization, this is almost a common goal pursued by everyone. Hum hum hum. Amidst the intense humming sounds, the anxious parents finally saw the beam of light piercing the heavens light up again. When the light dissipated, the once empty launch platform had nearly 100 spectral shuttles appear on it. These were the first 100 spectral shuttles launched yesterday. However, looking at the numbers, out of the 100 people, only 94 had returned. All students, listen to the command, immediately fly away from the launch platform. Outside the launch platform, the Torch Bureau office's directives rang out immediately. One after another, the spectral shuttles began to leave the platform, freeing up space for the subsequent return of the spectral shuttles. Nearly 2 hours later, all the students from this year's awakening in Zhongyuan City had returned. According to the statistics of Zhongyuan's Torch Bureau, there were 1032 successful awakeners, and the actual number of beneficiaries was 1032, with 980 successfully returning. That means the number of students who died or were lost in the alien star domain for unknown reasons totaled 52. It's a figure that couldn't be more normal, but the atmosphere on site was inexplicably heavy because these weren't mere numbers. They were 52 living beings. The heavy atmosphere didn't linger too long in the hearts of the students. On their ride back to the school on the hovercar, the students from the First Torch Academy excitedly began to exchange stories. In the First Torch Academy class of 255 Awakening Students Exchange Group, created by the Academy, the chatting was incredibly lively. Class 10, Lu Jia, what did everyone gain this time? Class 3, Zhou Lu, ha ha ha, my luck wasn't too bad. I came across an asteroid belt and got 30 tons of uranium ore. Class 4, Zhang Chao, envious. A ton of uranium ore is worth 8 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. 30 tons is 240 strands. Why did I only find fine iron, and just a pathetic amount of less than 60 tons, sob sob sob. Class 5, Sun Hao, envy +1, big shot please bring me with you. After glancing at the chat history in the group, Song Kai turned to look at Sun Hao sitting next to him. Howsy, how did you do this time? While typing on his communication bracelet, Sun Hao spoke softly. 50 tons of gas ore. Hearing the words, gas ore, Song Chi's eyebrows twitched slightly, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Gas ore was a high-rank resource, rumored to be used in the enhancement of high-quality warship components, thus its value was always high. On the market, 1 ton could typically sell for 10 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. 500 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, and you're envious of others? Clicking to close the communication light screen, Sun Hao let out a chuckle and draped his muscular left arm over Song Chi's shoulder. Brother Kai, you still don't know me. What's the use of glory in front of others? Keeping a low profile is my life motto? Lowering his head to glance at the other's arm, which was thicker than his own thigh, Song Kai really couldn't see how a hulking figure nearly 2 meters tall and weighing close to 150 kilograms, who attracted attention wherever he went, could possibly be associated with the words, low profile. Ignoring Song Chi's eye roll, Sun Hao quickly responded with a question. What about you, Brother Kai? 10 tons of mithril. Song Kai casually put forward the 10 tons of mithril, not that he intended to hide anything, but the 600 plus tons of purple copper could not be explained. He was very clear that the golden finger of Zutian Ruins market should never be exposed, otherwise he would be faced with endless trouble. Being able to randomly trade with alien races throughout the shattered starry sea was a valuable and unimaginable strange object. And that purple quality component, the nuclear fusion engine, he hadn't thought about exposing that yet either. The engine component of purple quality was also valuable and might invite covetous stares. As for whether he would keep it for himself, trade it through the black market, or through the Zutian Ruins market, he hadn't decided yet. He was leaning more towards using it himself. An engine of purple quality would be sufficient for him to use for a long time to come. Just then, an astonishing message suddenly appeared in the chat group. Class 1. Deng Chong. Basic component, blue quality main cannon, superconductive laser cannon. Interested brothers are welcome to DM. Attached is a JPG of the superconductive laser cannon attributes. Superconductive laser cannon LV0 quality. Blue consumption. 20 shot, spectral energy points. Attack. 15. Charge. 5s. Buffer. 10s. Up rank requirement. 3 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, 300 spectral energy points. Once this information appeared, the chat group exploded. Is it real? A blue main cannon? At Class 1? Deng Chong. Did you get this from the latest exploration? Awesome, man. Damn, I don't even have a white component, and the big guy's already showing off a blue component? Woo. It wasn't just the students who were stirred up, even the academy teachers were excited. Class 2 homeroom teacher. Huang Guowei. At Class 1 Deng Chong, if you really want to sell it, we can talk face to face after you return to the academy. Song Chi's eyes flickered slightly, and he felt somewhat tempted, but he showed no outward sign of it. How foolish, not keeping a blue quality main cannon for oneself. Sun Hao's complaint reached his ears, but Song Kai shook his head gently, disagreeing with his view. Everyone has their own plan. While a blue quality main cannon's damage is shocking, if one doesn't have enough resources for enhancement, they might not even survive the next exploration. Selling it now for a high price, the resources obtained could be used for a comprehensive enhancement of the spectral shuttle, increasing the survival rate for subsequent explorations in the alien star domain. There are losses and gains. As long as he himself finds it worthwhile, that's enough. Backquote, backquote, backquote. Clap, clap, clap. Song Kai had just finished speaking when, without waiting for a reply from Sun Hao, a round of applause broke out from behind them. Turning their heads, the person clapping was none other than Wang Yuan, who, besides Sun Hao, was another student in Class 5 to have awakened the white seed of torch. As he stood up from the back row, he praised with a smile. Well said, you win some, you lose some, exactly my sentiment. After speaking, he squeezed next to Song Kai and Sun Hao and began to converse familiarly. Sun Hao, Song Kai, hello. Due to various reasons, we haven't had much interaction over the past decade. But things are different now. Only 16 of our classmates have successfully awakened, and after the recent welfare exploration, only 15 are left. Listening silently to the other's nutritionless words, Song Kai subtly made space and shifted to another seat, discerning that Wang Yuan was here for Sun Hao, not so much for him. As for Wang Yuan's intentions, with the wisdom of someone who had lived twice, Song Kai could guess easily. It was nothing more than convincing his classmates to band together. And as a person who had awakened the white seed of torch, to naturally take the lead in this group, elevating his status and network, and by doing so, gaining access to more resources and benefits. He wasn't interested in that, though he didn't have any aversion to it either. Without power or background, it was understandable to want to advance further by banding together. At First Torch Academy's auditorium, nearly 200 students sat below the stage while the teaching director spoke with fervor. This was the outgoing students' last school assembly. After this, everyone would graduate and head their separate ways. Some might soon perish in subsequent alien star domain explorations. Others might give up on exploring alien territories altogether, relying on the spectral energy cultivation platform on their shuttles, accumulating time to step into first rank and live a merry life for 200 years. Yet others might rise meteorically, diving into the vast ocean to forge achievements beyond measure in the future. But no matter what, none would return to this moment. Song Kai was somewhat distracted, and once the assembly was over, he declined invitations from Sun Hao, Wang Yuan, and the others, eager to return home. Once in his bedroom, he immediately entered the Zhu Tian Ruins market. In the market's stall zone, what had been an empty area was now filled with various ores. Not just mithril and copper azurite, but also electrum, cold iron, and others, though in small quantities, all under 10 tons. Electrum amounting to about 30 tons. Including the mithril and copper azurite, first to be mined, the value was around 350 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. 350 strands of zero-rank floating land origin might not sound like much, but don't forget, the average yield of a Torch Civilization shuttle-grade Torch warship from a single alien star domain exploration is only about 100 strands. Moreover, he had not yet accounted for that purple component, the nuclear fusion engine. Speaking of the nuclear fusion engine, Song Kai promptly summoned the Kang Chong and checked the component's specific attributes, something he had wanted to do for hours since his return. Nuclear fusion engine LV0 quality. Purple feature. An additional 20% increase in energy supply efficiency. Consumption. 5 per second energy supply. 36 per second post-overload buffer. 30 minutes. Energy pool. 5,000 points. Can store 5,000 energy points. Up rank requirement. 5 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank, 500 energy points, 5 life cores, 0 rank. Examining the engine's attributes, Song Chi's eyes sparkled. Worthy of a purple level component, even without enhancement, its attributes were already stronger than LV7 spectral engine. Especially that high-quality feature unique to purple components, an additional 20% increase in energy supply efficiency, would evidently become more astonishing as the component's enhancement level rose. After a slight thrill, Song Kai shifted his attention to the convertible section. This attribute represented the original strange object form of the nuclear fusion engine component. It's been said that each starship component with a color has been transformed from a starry sea oddity. Once a first-rank floating land origin core fusion body is inducted into a torch warship, it gets converted into a component shape. Similarly, when the component leaves the torch warship, it can be reconverted into its original strange object shape. After checking the attributes, Song Kai hesitated to swap the purple engine with the standard spectral engine. While it might seem like a nuclear engine, unrelated to spectral energy, this relationship was only because it hadn't been installed. Once merged into the warship slot, the seed of torch would instantly transform the produced energy into spectral energy. The reason he didn't swap it right away was firstly, the exploration of the alien territories had just ended and the second would only start a month later, so there was no rush. Secondly, at that moment, the Kang Chong didn't have any high-energy consuming components, making the spectral engine sufficient. The most important reason was that he was about to engage in his first trading at the Zutian Ruins market, and he wanted to see if other Starry Sea intelligent beings were willing to pay a higher price for the first-rank floating land origin core fusion body or something like that. While the likelihood was low, trying was always worth it. After sorting out his current needs and situation, Song Kai began to intricately plan the details for before the opening of Zutian Ruins market. Since the ultra-long-distance Spacegate random deployment platform was entirely random, he didn't know what kind of civilization's creatures would enter the Ruins market, so he needed to be prepared in advance. For example, he might purchase in advance a batch of good and inexpensive items widely praised within the Torchlight humanity, such as the durable and affordable tungsten gold combat shields and tungsten gold lances. Or the widely propagated gene optimization serums, not just cheap but also very effective for those species that never used them before. And life cores, materials commonly used throughout the shattered Starry Sea, and so forth. Of course, his meticulous considerations and plans weren't meant to benefit the lucky beings of alien territories. He would price all these bulk purchased goods at 3 to 5 times the cost, profiting from the price difference in trading with beings from different parts of the Starry Sea. After an hour of careful planning, confident there were no other oversights, Song Kai summoned Kang Chong again, ready to transport the ores stored in the market. Currently, he had only a few strands of zero-rank floating land origin left, and stocking up would require capital. With insufficient funds, he naturally needed to sell the ores first, which were meant to be sold regardless. Backquote. The only headache was the over 600 tons of copper, a quantity that required several trips to transport completely, and figuring out how to sell it without leaving a trace was also a problem. If sold normally, it might be fine if no one paid attention, but if it were ever investigated later, it would become a huge red flag. A student who had just awakened 2 days ago returns from his first exploration in the alien star domain with over 600 tons of copper. It's worth noting that a spectral shuttle's maximum capacity is only about 100 tons. Therefore, in order to avoid a situation that might expose the Zutian Ruins market, Song Kai had to come up with a plan. It was still the Dongjiang Torch Shop, not far from Dongjiang Community, on the top floor of the shopping mall. Mithril 10 tons, electrum 34 tons, cold iron 11 tons, mercury crystals 15 tons, copper 45 tons, converting at 70% of market price, totals 177.8 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. Let's call it 178 strands, said the shop assistant with a polite smile. Song Kai argued his case assertively. Beautiful lady, a 70% rate is truly too low, other stores mostly buy at 80%. The assistant's smile remained, but she did not respond further, her meaning clear. If you are not happy with our price, then go wherever offers you 80%. In other words, there was no room for negotiation. Seeing this, Song Kai decided to seek a compromise. How about this? You accept 80%, and I will spend all of this floating land origin in your store. How's that? In response to this proposal, the Eagle Machinery Store eventually agreed, and Song Kai, as agreed, spent all 203 strands of floating land origin on goods from the store. 1,000 tungsten gold combat shields, 1,000 tungsten gold lances. 1 Starry Sea Universal Translator, 100 vials of basic gene optimization liquid. The above were the items that Song Kai had additional on the Kang Chong upon leaving the Eagle Machinery Store, for which he paid an additional 17 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. In the southern outskirts of Zhongyuan City, there was a very famous forest park known as Dongshan Forest Park. During holidays, it was thronged with people coming for hikes, and what many did not know was that behind this forest park, in an unseen area, lay the biggest black market of Zhongyuan City. Of course, in the minds of those true upper echelons of Zhongyuan, the existence of this black market was an open secret. Zhongyuan City needed such a place, not only Zhongyuan City but also the larger White Tower floating land, and even the entire domain of the Torch civilization needed black markets on their life floating lands. It's like the shadow of a city, the brighter the place, the larger the black market behind it. Song Kai knew about this place because he had visited it once with his father, Song Chao, a few years ago. That experience taught Song Kai about this hidden side of Zhongyuan City, and he had been there a few times alone since then, so he was quite experienced this time. He disguised himself, set his spectral shuttle's name to be invisible to others, and sold the over 500 tons of copper in several trips to different shops in various areas of the black market. A series of operations went by fluidly, without the slightest bit of obscurity. The prices in the black market were ruthlessly high, with the purchase price being only 65% of the market value, but there was no helping it, as Zhang Yuan was still a greenhorn who had just become a torch ship captain, without his own distribution channels. If he wanted to keep a low profile, he had to swallow this loss. Over 550 tons of purple copper, priced at 110 strands of zero-rank floating land origin in the market, were worth only 71 strands in Song Chi's hands, nearly half gone. Clenching his teeth, Song Kai returned to the torch market, where he exchanged all 90 strands of floating land origin he held into zero-rank and first-rank life cores, while swearing in his heart to recover the loss in the ruins market. After securing the 700 zero-rank and 21st-rank life cores, a total of 720, the preparations before opening the ruins market were essentially complete. Song Kai did not linger outside any longer. Once home, he briefly informed his parents that he was mentally overdrawn and might need deep sleep for a day or two. With their approval, he quickly retreated to his bedroom. He didn't rush to enter the Zutian ruins market to initiate his first trade there. Instead, he quickly fell into a deep sleep. Spiritual exhaustion after breaking limits was no trivial matter. He was extremely fatigued. If it weren't for his need to get everything settled, he probably wouldn't have held out this long. 20 hours later, Song Kai awoke from his deep sleep. Although not fully recovered, he felt much better than he had the day before. In the Zutian ruins market, after half an hour of bustling activity, Song Kai had all the goods he purchased the day before neatly arranged in 10 shops. Assured that everything was properly set up, he stepped towards the ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform at the innermost part of the market. Trailing closely behind him in 2 rows were 10 Fire Peony soldier figurines, radiating red glimmers. After a full day had passed, the Fire Peony soldier figurine tree components had completed their buffering. In front of the ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform, Song Kai gently tapped it once, preparing to activate the platform when a prompt sounded. Detected that it's your first time opening the market in 10,000 years. You may select a specific deployment area for one spatial gate. Upon hearing this prompt, an idea struck Song Kai. The words, "Mechanical Race Civilization Stronghold," rapidly surged from his heart, quickly occupying his entire mind. If it had been before he obtained the first-rank floating land origin core fusion body, he might not have been too moved by this. But things were different now. The first-rank floating land origin core fusion body he held was, to members of the mechanical race, equivalent to a miraculous energy supply artifact and naturally beyond valuation. Opening his communication bracelet, he accessed the already downloaded compendium of alien star domain civilizations and creatures, which did not require a network to view. Song Kai found several mechanical civilizations recorded there, chose one of the coordinates, and activated the ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform in front of him. Hum hum hum. With the platform trembling intensely, 10 beams of light emerged from it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 10 beams of light shot out one after the other, piercing through the ruins market's semicircular defense shield and disappearing into the silent void space as streaks of light. Seconds later, at the entrance area of the Zhu Tian ruins market, 10 vortex-shaped spatial entrances quietly appeared. Song Kai immediately stationed the 10 Fire Peony soldier figurines near the spatial gates and also placed the Starry Sea Universal Translator at the entrance of the market. After all, it was highly likely that the entrants would belong to completely different species, and if they were of a very low level, not even having mastered the Starry Sea common language, the Starry Sea Universal Translator would be key to ensuring barrier-free communication for them. After completing these preparations, Song Kai finally used his ability as the Ruins Market Master to materialize a light screen at the entrance of the market that inscribed the various trading rules of the Zhu Tian Ruins Market. This light screen, manifested by the laws of the Zhu Tian Ruins Market's secret realm space, allowed any creature that saw it to immediately comprehend the various rules listed within. The rules listed on the screen were numerous, but the one pinned at the very top, with just 8 characters, read: 1. Willing seller, willing buyer, free trade. The second rule was even more succinct. 2. Fighting and conflict prohibited. As for the subsequent ones, each rule was not overly strict, yet they all ensured the basic order of the ruins market, as well as Song Chi's own profits. 3. A 10% transaction tax is required for each ruins market transaction. 4. In case of language barriers, one may use the universal translator available at the entrance of the ruins market for a fee of 10 rank life core per use. 100. The duration of this ruins market transaction is 24 hours, with 23 hours 58 minutes and 27 seconds remaining. Having arranged everything, Song Kai entered the ruins market, not as the lord of the market but as a curious youngster seemingly fortunate enough to find his way there, looking here and there. Before long, a slight spatial fluctuation emerged at the entrance to the ruins market, and a creature with the body of a human and the head of a bull, holding a hefty mace, stepped out from one of the spatial gates, its eyes filled with vigilance. As the lord of the ruins market, Song Kai received a prompt from the ruins market the instant the creature arrived. However, he did not look back but continued browsing the various shops. Having opened the ruins market for the first time, he naturally had to demonstrate how to shop to prevent subsequent creatures from entering the market without understanding how to proceed. As expected, after the Minotaur read the string of rules on the screen at the entrance, it noticed Song Kai moving from one shop to another and quickly followed suit, examining the items for sale in each shop. While discreetly observing the creature, Song Kai also searched through the compendium of Starry Sea civilizations and creatures, stored on his communication bracelet, and soon found information on the newcomer. Race name: Bull-headed People Tribe. Introduction: a common hybrid race in the shattered Starry Sea, most of whom still live in a primitive, tribal civilization. Racial advantage: reverence for martial strength, individuals possess astonishing combat power. Racial weakness: technological development is almost non-existent, they rely too much on their physical bodies. Song Kai raised an eyebrow and breathed a sigh of relief. It looks like at least one of the 10 spatial gates has landed on an unknown level Starry Sea floating land. Not bad at all, at least it ensures I won't come out empty-handed. According to the information he had gathered about the many Zutian ruins markets, he knew that the placement of the spatial gates was completely random. They might not necessarily land on a starry sea floating land but could appear in the quiet starry sky or an uninhabited asteroid belt, and so on. Therefore, in the history of the ruins market, there were embarrassing occasions where not a single creature had entered, especially in the early phases of zero-rank ruins markets where the probability was highest. Lost in thought, the zero-rank Minotaur entered a shop displaying basic gene optimization potions. After scanning the central screen describing the potion's effects, the Minotaur's expression turned to one of ecstatic joy. Yet, soon after, it resumed its guarded demeanor, percent. The creature suddenly spoke, and simultaneously, Song Kai heard the creature's voice even while he was in another shop. Song Chi's face showed no confusion. The language spoken by the other creature was not the torch human races but the common language of the Starry Sea. Being someone who had received over 20 years of high-level education, he understood it perfectly. The meaning of the creature's words was simple. How can the effect of these gene optimization potions be confirmed? Song Kai pondered for a moment, then with a thought, the message on the screen in the center of the genetic optimizing potion shop changed to form a coherent sentence in the universal language of the Starry Sea. You can pay a deposit to test it personally. Seeing the words appear on the screen, the Minotaur's expression grew tense. As an elite warrior of the Kenmu tribe, it cherished its life. It was not willing to risk using an unfamiliar potion, which could be either real or fake, toxic or non-toxic. After some hesitation, the ruins market suddenly stirred with activity from outside, indicating that other creatures had also entered the Zutian ruins market. In desperation, the creature decided it could not hesitate any longer. It took out 50 zero-rank life cores as collateral for the shop and then drank down a potion. The next second, it felt a powerful and gentle heat spread throughout its body, coursing through every inch of its flesh, repairing and remodeling every cell, while intense pain erupted from every part of its body. 2 minutes later, when the Minotaur reopened its eyes, the sharpness in its gaze could no longer be concealed. Feeling the seemingly inexhaustible strength within its body and its physical fitness nearly doubled, the Minotaur had never felt so powerful. Coming to its senses, it quickly spoke. I'll take all the remaining 99 gene optimization potions. With that, it proceeded to take out more life cores from its body. As an elite warrior of the Kenmu tribe, it had no shortage of life cores. However, just then, footsteps sounded from behind along with a fluent use of the universal language of the Starry Sea. Hold on, I also want to purchase these gene optimization potions. Turning to look, the creature entering the shop had an exceedingly large head, with 2 tentacles supporting a brain that constituted over 90% of its body weight, presenting a strange appearance. The attitude of this creature was clear. It too wanted to purchase gene optimization potions. Even without trying the potion first, it was not hard to deduce from the Minotaur's urgency that the effect of the potion must indeed be astonishing. At that moment, a new message appeared on the central virtual screen of the shop. Each customer may only purchase a maximum of 10 potions at a time. Not far down the street, unable to find information on that large-headed creature in the compendium of Starry Sea civilizations and creatures, Song Kai understood that it was a new species undiscovered by torchlight humanity. But that was not the focus. Song Kai felt a twinge of regret. Had he known that the primary gene optimization potion would be so popular, he would have bought more. 5 times. Markup. What's faster than that for making money? Reluctantly, he added the single-person 10 potion maximum rule. With the limited stock he had, better to generate more interest rather than selling out in one go. And, as expected, after learning about the purchase limit, the Minotaur and the large-headed creature each bought 10 potions and hurriedly left the ruins market, evidently to call their kin. P.S. New book asks for recommendations, follow-up reading.